There's a well-worn cliche that says if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Well, when it comes to your nonprofit, it certainly has the ring of truth to it. But unless you're the super organized type who just instinctively writes everything down, documentation, well, it may not be your strong suit. So what exactly do you need to be keeping records of? Hi, I'm Greg McRae, and welcome to this episode of 501c3 University. Perfecting the habit of properly documenting the activities of your nonprofit is one of the most important disciplines any nonprofit leader should master. It's not only best practice, it's an absolute necessity. You simply cannot fulfill even the most basic of the legal and fiduciary duties if thorough record keeping isn't an ingrained part of your standard operating procedures. Now, there are many avenues of record keeping I could talk about today, but here are four big ones I want to consider. The first one is your accounting records. Now, if anything needs to be buttoned up tightly, this is it. Both state and federal regulations require that the financial records of your nonprofit be complete, accurate, and consistent with what's called generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. In fact, your board has a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that your accounting records are accurate. And just in case you don't remember exactly what the word fiduciary means, we'll put a link in the description below to our recent video on the subject. Unfortunately, accounting is an area we frequently see relegated to the "we'll get around to it" status, especially with smaller nonprofits. Now, it's usually not that the leaders don't care. It's usually a situation where no one in leadership knows how to do it, and they feel they can't afford to hire outside help to do it right. So it often gets put off until it's an absolute mess, and it becomes virtually impossible to use the financial records available to prepare a Form 990 or state fundraising report. Do not let this happen to your nonprofit. It's irresponsible, and it's a violation of your legal obligation as an officer or director. You simply must have accurate accounting records, so plan for it from day one. Put it in your budget. This is not a day two issue. I'll add this too. Even if you're fortunate enough to have someone inside your nonprofit who knows how to accurately do accounting work, I still recommend enlisting an outside expert to oversee it. You won't hardly find a successful business anywhere that doesn't do that. And if you need help, Foundation Group provides full-service monthly bookkeeping to hundreds of nonprofits all across the country. The next record-keeping category is donations. Now, there's two reasons why this is so important. First, you have a regulatory requirement to keep accurate records of who gave what and when. Now, this is true of both cash and non-cash gifts. The IRS will want details concerning this information on your Form 990, specifically for larger donors. Nonprofits that are required to file Form 990 or 990EZ, they're required to list on Schedule B all donors who gave $5,000 or more. For some nonprofits, that threshold is going to be listing larger donors of 2% or greater of donated revenue. Also, the IRS requires nonprofits to carefully track donor data so that the public support test can be accurately calculated. Now, we recently did a thorough look at the public support test in another video, so again, we'll put that link in the description below. I initially said there were two reasons why documenting contributions are so important. The second reason is pretty practical. Accurate records of donor activity makes it much easier to solicit future contributions from your supporters. And there are very few things as important to your nonprofit's long-term health than building a fan base of consistent givers. Our next category is corporate records. Now, it may seem kind of obvious, but you need to keep copies of all your corporate documents, such as your articles of incorporation, your bylaws and related amendments, and your corporate annual reports. Now, what might be less obvious is board meeting minutes. Now, these are the notes of what was discussed and decided in any board meeting. Now, this is an often overlooked piece of record keeping that's really, really important. If the IRS or another government agency ever examines your nonprofit for some reason, it's very common for them to request documentation of board decisions. You do not want to find yourself in a situation where you got to defend a board action such as compensation for your executive director and not have evidence of arm's length decision making in the form of meeting minutes. And it's not just the IRS who might have an interest in your minutes. In the unlikely event your nonprofit is ever involved in a legal dispute of any kind, board meeting minutes are one of the first things to be subpoenaed. Oh, and make sure your minutes reflect what actually transpired in your board meetings, not a revisionist history. Resist the urge to document every point and counterpoint of discussion What's really important here is capturing the overall nature of the discussion concerning an agenda item and the resulting decision and resulting votes. The final category I'll bring up is activity records. What has your nonprofit been up to? Now, this category may include things ranging from fundraisers or specific program activities. If it's a fundraiser, what happened? How much money came in? What was the cost of conducting it? Same thing for programs. What was accomplished? How many people were benefited? The IRS wants details on all of that. Program accomplishment data and fundraiser details are required disclosures on Form 990 for nonprofits filing anything greater than a Form 990N. In your state fundraising registration renewal, well, it may seek some of those same details, particularly on fundraising events. Program data and fundraiser success stories also make for great content for communicating to your donor base all the incredible things your nonprofit is accomplishing. Nothing breeds success quite like success. If you've got great things to say it. Donors like to support what is going well and help you keep moving in the right direction. I hope you can see why record keeping cannot be an afterthought for your nonprofit. Knowing what needs to be documented, then actually doing the work of putting it into your permanent records is absolutely essential to making sure your nonprofit stays in compliance and by extension improves donor and stakeholder engagement. Yes, it's your duty, but it's also one of the key ingredients of long-term success. What are some other areas of record keeping that come to your mind? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, please click the like button. That's so important in helping us reach more people with our video content. You can also subscribe to our channel using the button below, and don't forget the little bell icon to be notified of new content when we post it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.